here I've got a little matching pair of rolling mill textured copper strips, and I made that texture with some wiggly bits of binding wire as well as some wire wool. So the slightly crinkly texture is the wire wool, the deeper lines are the binding wire. And if you remember, it's really important to protect your rollers if you're using anything hard like steel. You can use brass plates to do that, top and bottom of your stack, so that the steel does not come into contact with the rollers. Because I've got a matching pair, I'm going to make them into earrings. Now, I'm going to cut them both at the same time, just to speed it up. So what I need to do is stick them together in a little stack, but I want to make sure that my pattern matches up. So what I've got here is some double-sided sticky tape. I'm going to stick one on one side, and then the other one I'm going to try and line up on the opposite side so the patterns match. I've got my patterns lined up and matching, double-sided sticky tape, and what I'm going to do now is just cut off excess tape, just so that I don't have any tape sticking out my sides. I'm just going to get in my way, because as you can see it sticks to everything. There we go. And now I'm going to take the backing paper off the tape, like so, and I should be able to fold it and it's going to stick together in a little stack, but I know that my pattern is lined up, just like that. I could just start cutting it out like this once I've drawn my design, but there's always a chance it'll slip slightly when I'm cutting it. So what I'm going to do is take some masking tape this time instead of a double-sided sticky, and I'm going to wrap that around my stack, because it won't get in the way when I'm cutting, but it's just going to help stop those two bits of metal slipping and sliding. That's it, and then I can either cut or tear off to cut it. Excess tape, like so. And the other nice thing about the masking tape, if you remember to previous months, that's a nice surface for me to draw on now, but as you can see I can still see my pattern underneath. So when I'm deciding what shape to cut them, I can see my pattern and make the best use out of it. I've drawn my shape that I want to cut out, and I'm going to use my jeweler's saw. So if you want tips on how to use your jeweler's saw, you can go back to Make It month 2 and have a look at that. But I've got a 0.4 saw blade in there, and I'm just going to rub a little bit of beeswax on the back of the blade, and then I'm ready to cut. Supporting it on my bench peg, I'll push up slightly initially just so that the oh, that's a bit loose. Get that a bit tighter. That's better. Right, I'm going to push up initially just to notch into the metal, and then when it's in the metal I'm going to straighten up my blade. And I'm going to cut all the way around this edge. There we go. And the edges are going to need filing, but I can also do that while they're still stuck together, so I can file them at the same time. I'm going to put this into the notch in my bench peg, and then if you remember with the files, they only cut in the forward motion, so I push and lift, following the curve of my metal. Giving it a little file all over, so now I'm ready to start taking it apart and have a look at it. So I'm just going to peel the masking tape off first, off the outside edges, and then I'll peel the double-sided sticky off from the inside. Sometimes you have to get your nail in there. There we go. So I just need to get the rest of the tape off the back. which will just peel off. But now I have two matching textured pieces of metal. Like that. We're all ready to make into earrings once I get this tape off. And I need to give them a bit of a sand all over. Get rid of the burrs on the edges. I've removed the burrs with a little nail file and given them a good sand all over, working my way down different grades of wet and dry paper, emery paper, so they're now nice and smooth and don't have any unwanted scratches in there. So, because I'm going to turn these into a pair of earrings, what I'm going to do is pop two little holes, one in the end of each one. So I've got a Sharpie, I'm going to put a little mark where I want the hole to go on one end and a little mark on the other end, and then I've got my hole punch pliers, or you could use a drill bit. And now if I pop this upside down so that I can see the hole through the hole on the pliers, and then I squeeze, give it a little wiggle, and it should pop a nice clean hole right where my mark was. So I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm lining it up so I can see where my mark was, squeeze, give it a little wiggle, nice clean hole. And then I'm going to use this one as a template to draw through that hole so that I'm marking my other earring in exactly the same position. Got my little earring stack held in my third hand tweezers, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to flame colour them. So they're held together as a stack, and so therefore hopefully the colours will come out fairly uniform like a butterfly. Fingers crossed. Do you remember from previous videos about this, I've just touched the flame down, take the flame away, move to another bit, touch the flame down, take the flame away, move to another piece. So each time you touch it with the flame, you give it a few seconds, that area a few seconds to cool. Also where the tweezers are holding it will be acting as a heat sink, so that area is going to stay cooler than the rest of the metal. One pair fairly uniform heat coloured pieces of copper with rolling mill texture. Got my ring mandrel, a piece of copper, and I'm going to bend it around the handle because the handle is the same circumference all the way around rather than conical shape like the rest of it. So I'm just going to do an initial bend like that, same on the other one. Cool. Initial bend with my fingers, and then when I've done that I need to work harden them with the mallet. So if you remember, when you heat things with a blowtorch they go nice and soft and malleable, but that also means that they'll misshapen really easily. So I need to work harden it with the mallet just to make it nice and hard and springy, so it's going to hold its shape well. Like that. So in another post I'm going to turn these into a little pair of earrings. So here I have two little matching rolling mill textured curves of metal that I'm going to turn into earrings. So I'm going to make the ear wires in a minute, but they're a little bit dull. So Kernowcraft kindly sent me their selection pack of polishing papers to try out. I've not used them before, so I'm going to give these a little go. It's the same concept as the wet and dry paper, the emery paper, so they come in different grades. Instead of having numbers on the back, the grades are donated by the colour of the paper, and that's written on the little sample sheet that comes with them. Now, they tend to work better, things like this, if you can use them on a rigid surface. So here I have a little ice cream stick out my resin kit that I haven't been using, so I'm going to use it for this instead, and I'm going to stick the paper onto the stick with some double-sided sticky. I've got some double-sided sticky tape and I've got my little stick, and I'm going to stick the tape on there, fold on both sides like so, and then I'm going to peel the backing off like that and wrap the rest of that tape over. So now the stick is completely covered in tape. Then I'm going to decide which polishing paper to use. So I'm going to go for the middle, just to give it a go because I've not tried them before. So I'm going to go for the pink one. I'm going to stick this onto my stick, like so. Fold it over like that. And then cut off the excess. Nice and stuck. Right, so I've got this. I'm just going to grab something to hold on to this for me. So maybe take a doming block, pop it over there, just so it's nice and supported. And then I'm going to rub this on the surface and see what happens. It's definitely starting to give it a little bit of a sheen, but as I wanted, it's not removing the colour because it's smooth enough to make it a bit shiny, a little bit of a buff. Smooth enough to make it a little bit shiny, but like I say, it's not so coarse that it's stripping back the nice colour that I got from the torch. Here's the original one, and here's the one that I've just buffed all over with the pink polishing paper, which is sort of the middle grade of paper. So it's definitely come up a lot shinier, but hopefully you can see that it's not removed too much of the colour. So what I've done now is, on the other end of my cocktail stick, I've stuck the cream one, so that's the smoothest. And just so I remember as well, I've numbered them, so I've written number 4 and number 6 on there. So I'll give it a buff with this now. That's definitely coming up nice and shiny. I'm going to make some ear wires now, so I've got 2 pieces of 0.8mm round silver wire, and I'm just going to ball the end of it. So I'm just going to heat it with a blowtorch until it goes into a little ball. There you go. A little bit bigger. That's it. And then I'm going to do this one to match. That's it, it's starting to go, and I just want to get it to the same size as the one before, which looks about there to me. I've bent the end of the balled wire around with some round nose pliers, and now I'm going to get something that's the same circumference as my earrings, and I'm going to bend the wire around that. So hold that little bit of wire, bending it around the former. In this case it's a doming punch, but it could be anything as long as it's the right circumference, the same curve as your ear wire. And same on the other one. And hold it in place. Pull this round nice and tight, and then I need to work harden it a little bit as well. So I'm going to get my mallet and just give it a little tap, just to make sure the shape's nice. There we go, trimmed the ear wires down, popped them on. So now you can see I've got a matching pair of brass rolling mill textured hoop earrings. Have a nice bit of swing to them. There you go. So a little pair of copper rolling mill textured hoop earrings matching pair, and I didn't use any polish or any power tools to finish them off. All I did was use some emery paper, wet and dry paper, number 800, so not even that smooth, followed by some of the little polishing papers that Kernowcraft sent me to try out, the little sample pack. And again, me being me and being a bit lazy, I didn't work my way through the grades like you're supposed to. That would give a better finish. I just did number 4, which is sort of in the middle, the pink, and number 6, the super shiny one, which is the cream, and they've come up lovely and shiny, and it's highlighted the texture really nice. I'm going to do a little close-up of these for you in a second. So I'm going to make more videos showing you how to use the rolling mill. But that's it for today. If you've got one and you're not using it, have a go. I'm going to do a little video about maintenance and how to protect the rollers as well, later on in the month. But if you have one, use it, play around, let me know what your favourite things are to texture your metal. And if you don't have one, but you're doing a jewellery course at the minute, or you know somebody, it might be worth rolling out and texturing some sheet metal while you've got access to it, or maybe even contacting a local jeweller who you know has one and asking if you can pay to come and texture some sheet metal.